November is here, and that means it's time to run down all of the new VR games coming to headsets near you this month. And November 2025 is stacked. There are loads of new VR games coming, no matter which headset you own. So let's dive in and run through every single game that's currently confirmed for release this month. We're kicking off with a game that's coming out today, Medieval Halloween VR. Now this is a semi-open world VR game where you're going around busting monsters and skeletons and such, but with a name like Medieval Halloween VR, maybe someone should have told them that Halloween was yesterday. Either way, this game is coming to Steam today and is available for PSVR headsets. Next up on the 4th of November, we have the PSVR 2 port of Lies and Rain. You can see our review of the MetaQuest version up here. And of Lies and Rain, I mean, it's a great game if you're willing to accept a bit of jank. The developers have been straight up and forward with the fact that the game is not perfect right now and is going to get some considerable updates to make it better. So as long as you're willing to accept that that's the ride you're on with Of Lies and Rain, jump in and give this one a go. Now on the 6th of November, we have 4 new releases all coming in one day. We've got VR Blasteroids, Forefront, Laser Dance, and Haymaker. Of those 4, arguably, Laser Dance and Forefront are the 2 biggest. Laser Dance has been coming for some time. It's been widely seen in internet circles as a kind of experience that, you know, is going to get you up and moving. You know all those like spy thrillers where you have the spies crawling through lasers to try and reach from point A to point B? Well, that's this. It turns your own space into a laser challenge. So, you know, expectations are high for this one. I wonder personally about the longevity of it. Is this really just going to be the kind of thing that you pull out at parties to have fun with your friends? But we'll soon see. Haymaker is the oddball in here. This is a game that is coming as an early access title, and it's very early access. It is a brutal, bone-crunching fighting game, a brawler. And it's a game that is taking the combat, the fighting aspect very seriously. So this one is certainly one to keep an eye on. On the 7th, we have Battlegroup VR 2 coming to both MetaQuest and PSVR. Now, Battlegroup VR is kind of a hidden gem in VR. It's very much loved by its core community, but it hasn't really got that much attention. Hopefully, Battlegroup VR 2 can change that. And then we have Thrasher on PSVR, which is the sequel to Thumper, a very early VR game that has actually had non-VR versions made of it as well. But Thrasher is basically taking everything that you loved about Thumper and upping the ante here. It's making it bigger, faster, harder. On the 10th, we have a pretty interesting game that's coming to both MetaQuest and PSVR, Escape from Hadrian's Wall. This is a game that hasn't received that much attention yet, but it's definitely worth looking into. It's a bit different to some of the VR experiences that you might be used to. It's a game that kind of mixes puzzle, challenges, and exploration with turn-based card battling. It's certainly an interesting concept, and this is one that we here at 131 are definitely going to be keeping an eye on. On the 11th of November, we have a new release from Enhanced Games. Now, this is the studio that has brought us Res Infinite and Tetris Evolved and other rhythm puzzle-style games. And their latest title, coming to PSVR 2 and PSVR, is, and there's some debate about how this is pronounced, Lumines Arise? Lumines Arise? However you want to take it, it is a port for VR. Well, not a port, more like an adaptation for VR of a PSP title, a PlayStation Portable title from way back when, that has been adapted to multiple different formats as the years have gone on, now landing in VR. It's a shame there's no MetaQuest version of this currently, but maybe there'll be one coming down the line. On the 12th, we have Heavy Burden VR coming to PSVR. Now, this is a game that kind of looks like it wants to do the whole Mirror's Edge VR thing, and we just had Reach. So, can a VR platforming game, a first-person VR platforming game, take the crown from Reach this soon after launch? We'll find out in a couple of weeks. On the 13th of November, once again, we have 4 new games coming. And arguably, 3 of these games are some of the biggest names in VR right now. We have Siberia VR coming to MetaQuest, which is a modernization and a VR adaptation of the classic original Siberia game. For those of you who don't know, Siberia is a 20-odd-year-old puzzle adventure game that grew very popular and developed a strong community around the game. And Siberia is launching as a Siberia Remastered, and in VR we have Siberia VR. The two games are kind of being co-developed, kind of jointly developed at the same time, with Siberia Remastered bringing the original Siberia and modernizing it, and Siberia VR taking that remastered edition and adapting it to VR. Now, this isn't a simple port. A lot of the puzzles have been changed and elements have been made specifically for the VR version. So I personally am actually looking forward to this one quite considerably. And taken away from the single-player story-led element of Siberia VR, we have Glass Breakers, which is the newest title in the Moss universe. Developed by Polyarch, this is coming to MetaQuest 3 first, but it is coming to other formats as well, including Apple Vision Pro. And Glass Breakers, known as Glass Breakers Champions of Moss, is a kind of like a MOBA game. It's a VR strategy multiplayer experience, and there have been beta tests for this, so if you're a fan of Moss, you've probably already jumped in. But the official launch date is set for the 13th of November, so if you're a fan of multiplayer and the Moss games, this one's definitely for you. Also on the 13th, we have Tracked, Shoot to Survive. Arguably the worst name for a VR game I've ever heard, but it is a game that looks interesting. This is a game where you've got an open wilderness to explore and you must track your enemies and shoot to survive. So I guess the name tells you exactly what this is. At the moment, it's coming to MetaQuest 3, but I would expect this to land on other formats in the future. Lastly, on the 13th, we have Hoto Infinity coming to both PSVR 2 and MetaQuest. Now we're getting into some pretty big launches just in time for that holiday season. On the 18th of November, we have Marvel's Deadpool VR. Obviously, this game has got quite some anticipation around it. It's been expected for some time. Previews of the game have generally been positive. So, 18th of November is when we all get to find out whether Marvel's Deadpool VR has been worth waiting for. On the 19th of November, for MetaQuest, we have... I don't know if this is actually the full launch, but the next stage of the evolution in the Thrill of the Fight 2. The Thrill of the Fight was a widely respected single-player boxing game. The Thrill of the Fight 2 launched some time ago with a multiplayer-only component. And now it's receiving a single-player element added to that multiplayer experience. So you can already buy Thrill of the Fight 2 as you're watching this video, but on the 19th of November, it gets a significant overhaul. On the 20th of November, we have possibly the longest name of any VR game coming, Demio X Dungeons & Dragons Battle Marked. Now this, for all intents and purposes, is Demio with a Dungeons & Dragons skin. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's not worthy of a new game. Demio is widely loved by many people across all different formats, both VR and flat screen, and Demio X Dungeons & Dragons Battle Marked could be considered a sequel, I guess. It is taking everything that we know and love about Demo and splashing it with the coating of Dungeons & Dragons, but also refining quite a few elements of the game. It's coming to MetaQuest, PSVR 2 and PCVR all on the same day. So, if you're a fan of Demio, this one's probably going to be on your list. On the 25th of November, we have the PSVR 2 edition of Pools VR. This game has developed quite an audience in recent times. It's a game that kind of came out from nowhere and has been loved by horror fans. It's a bit of a shock that they didn't bring this forward and make sure it was launching in time for Halloween, especially as this is the PSVR 2 edition, which, as we all know, PSVR 2 gamers are looking to invest in new games. So maybe it'll find its audience, even though it kind of comes a month after the ideal launch time. Wrapping up November, we have two more games which don't yet have release dates. We've got Space Explorers Ultimate Edition coming to MetaQuest, and Made of Sker, I assume that's how you pronounce it, Made of Sker VR, on MetaQuest, PSVR 2 and PCVR. Now, Made of Sker is a game that launched on flat screen consoles and PC a couple of years ago, and was quite well received by the horror fan community. It is a horror adventure game, an exploration game. So hopefully the VR adaptation of this one will be received just as well. So that wraps up every single new VR game coming in November 2025, and there was a lot. Doesn't matter which VR platform that you are playing on, there are new games coming this month for you to enjoy. So make sure you let us know in the comments down below which ones you're most excited for.